Uh, People are logging on, but everybody, please say hello to the wonderful guitarist Dave Stryker. So you can unmute and say hi to Dave if you would.
Hello, Dave.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Wolfgang, where are you from?
I'm from Western Springs, Illinois, which is right by Chicago.
Awesome. Um, I pay my rent to somebody in Western Springs. That's my connection to Western Springs. Thanks for being here. And what high school do you go to?
I go to Lyons Township High School.
Oh, so you're in Mark Dahl's program.
Yes, I am.
Good. Please tell Mr. Dahl that I say hello.
I will.
Okay. I need to make just give me a second. Got to make somebody a host. Just a minute. Ryan. Okay. Ryan Ingebrigtsen. Give me a second, Dave, while I deal with the tech here.
Mm-hmm.
And as people continue to log on, we're just a couple minutes after the hour. Where's Ryan? More. Looks like Zvonimir Tote just logged on. Let's see where Zvonimir is. There he is. And
My friend Zvonimir is here.
Zvonimir just came in the room. I don't know if he's got audio yet. Zvonimir, can we hear you?
Hi, Michael. Hi, Dave. Great to have you with us.
Hey, small world.
Indeed.
It's crazy. Thanks, Ryan, for spotlighting me. Isn't that great? Dave, once you're tuned, will you play just a little bit so my colleague Ryan Ingebrigtsen can sort of deal with sound as needed? It's been pretty good of late, so. Jesse Jeffries, nice to have you here.
Should I play a song?
Just play a little bit, and then we'll get started. Sounds beautiful. Sound is good. Play something for us while people are coming in the room, Dave.
little B flat blues.
Woo! Beautiful.
Smoking.
Uh,
Spring is here in New Jersey. All right.
yeah.
Okay, and before we have somebody play for you, my brother Dave, who's now a lawyer in Houston, lived in Morristown, New Jersey. It's too.
All right. Well, that's
It's
not
too-
too far from me.
I thought you were. Oh, you're in.
West
You're in West Orange. Okay.
Which is about maybe, as the crow flies, about 14 miles from New York City.
Right.
So I've been
Right.
here since 19. I moved out to. Well, I came to New York in 1980. I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska, not too far from Chicago, and it would be the next, big city after Chicago if you're heading west. And I left there. I played in bands around Omaha. Got into, started out playing music as a young man by listening to the Beatles, and kind of just, I don't know, I started playing in bands right away, took some guitar lessons, and I really learned from listening to records and got into, whatever the rock and roll pop stuff of the day was. And then I think I somehow got into like Santana and the Allman Brothers, which would be where it started to get a little more blues influenced, and where they were like actually taking solos instead of just like some of the rock bands that just kind of played things that were all worked out. So from that, I was always playing in bands, so I was a pretty decent rock player, I thought. And I went to a jam session at the Union Hall, and they were playing Song for My Father, and I said, "Oh, I can do that." So I jumped up there with my Telecaster. I had long hair. I just started and I was like, just started ripping off my licks rock and roll licks, and afterwards one of the guys comes up and taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey man, you can't be playing that rock and roll. This is jazz." I was like, "What?" So I went to the record store the next day, and believe it or not, I walked out of there with George Benson, Beyond the Blue Horizon, and John Coltrane, My Favorite Things. I have no idea, how I ended up with those two records, but they're like my two favorite records still. They're just so great. And immediately I got hooked. I was like, what? Hearing George Benson and Coltrane, I just loved it. And then from there I got, went Wes, Grant Green, Pat Martino, Kenny Burrell, all the guys. And as well as Sonny Rollins, Miles, and everybody that, back then we'd go to the record store and you couldn't only afford a certain amount of records, and you'd kind of make a stack, and then you'd be looking at the back of the cover and you say, oh wow, Paul Chambers is on this, and he's on this Coltrane record, and he's on this Miles record, and he's on this Wes Montgomery Smoking at the Half Note. That's how we kind of, we learned the music. And it was just, and you couldn't afford, everything, so you would buy like a few records and listen to the heck out of them. And I still say to this day, if you really want to learn this music, listen to a few things a lot instead of a lot of things a little. Pick somebody you like and soak it up. If it's Grant Green or Wes Montgomery, if you're a guitar player, a trombone player, maybe you like, J.J. Johnson. Man, just pick one record, one song, one solo, and just that's the way to learn this. I mean, that's how all the greats we listen to learned from listening to the ones that came before.
Wow. Sage advice. I want to follow up on everything that you said, Dave, but I'd also like to have somebody play for you who has to leave for a job interview at 2.
Says Zvonimir?
Oh, that's a cheap.
I can sing.
Just kidding, my man.
Wow, that hurts. That one left a mark on me.
If I were to get fired in favor of Dave Stryker, I wouldn't like it, but I could hardly complain.
Oh,
By the way, folks,
you guys have one of the greats there on your faculty for sure, Zvonimir. I'm a big fan of his, man.
I'm the biggest guitarist in Chicago.
oh, stop, Zvonimir. I know where you went with that.
And you're outstanding in your field too.
I appreciate it. Just folks, something when this is over, go and Google Dave, and you will see his stellar credits, as playing credits as well as the recording credits as both a leader and a sideman. And Dave mentioned 2 of our common heroes, Pat Martino and George Benson. Well, I just want to put that in context. Among the many great jazz musicians that Dave has played with, starting as a very young man, I'm totally envious. Among them are Stanley Turrentine and Jack McDuff. And that particular guitar lineage in Jack McDuff's band is stellar, and Dave is a part of that lineage. Kenny Burrell, George Benson, Pat Martino, and Dave Stryker were all guitarists in Jack McDuff's band. Also, Chicago's own Henry Johnson. Was Henry there after you, Dave?
He was there. Actually, when I used to play in Chicago, there was a club called Mr. Ricky's Chick Rick House in the Hood, and that's where I met Henry. He would come down, so I think he had already played with Jack. But that's true. That was quite a hot seat for the guitar player. I mean, you can imagine a guy from Omaha, Nebraska. I moved to New York, went up to Harlem to the Lickety Split Lounge and sat in with Jack McDuff, and I'd been listening to that music, and he previously had, like Zvonimir said, he had Grant Green, George Benson, and Pat Martino. And so, when he got me in the band, he said, Dave, I finally got a good guitar player. That's a joke.
Anyway, so
I'm muted. Sorry, I said put
And-
him.
Come on, can we
and
get
let's
get some
let's
emojis
not
going
forget
here?
Kenny Burrell. Let's not forget Kenny Burrell.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I forgot about Grant Green. Thank you. Anyway, folks, so just as a bit of context, this is who we have with us today. Anyway, I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Zvonimir, and
Zvonimir, what time does the rocket launch happen there? Because I see you look like NASA there with your setup, man. I'm totally envious.
Hey, what I lack in craftsmanship, I make up for in bullshit.
oh, easy now, Zvonimir. Folks, I put a link to Dave's website in the chat, and made a point of organ trios have been an important scene for guitarists.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about Dave's career, and he's got some video of a recording session that we're going to get to really produced with his. Is that McClenty and Jared?
Yeah, I have some stuff that we did in the studio last year, as well as I have some stuff with the WDR big band that I did.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to that, but now let's get Tommy Hepp up to bat,
Sure.
trombonist. Tommy, what are you gonna play for us?
I'll be playing Satin Down.
All right.
Sounds
And-
good. You got a track or something you're going to play with, or just
Yeah, I've got a classical Jamie Ebersol.
Perfect.
And I'm sure Ryan will, as soon as you start to play, will pin you to the video and get me and Zvonimir out of the picture. There you go.
Perfect.
Dave, Tommy is in a second semester freshman in the Jazz Studies degree program, studying with Andy Baker
Very nice.
right now. All right. Yep, whenever you're ready, Tommy.
All
Hey,
right.
Tommy. Yeah, Tommy.
All right, Tommy. So, sound really good, man. What I think the big three things in music is sound, rhythm, and harmony. Right? Those in that order. When people listen to you, the first thing they're going to hear is your sound, and you got a nice sound on the trombone.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so whether we're guitar players or drummers, bass players, alto sax, tenor sax, trumpet, whatever we are, it's important that our sound we get a good sound. Piano as well, of course, the touch on piano. So the that needs to be worked on, always. Like for you, that's something that you can work on your own, through your teacher. And I know like saxophonists can do long tones. Guitar players, we work on getting a good sound on our instrument with different, our string setup, our guitar setup, our amps, all these kind of things. So with trombone, I would say that your sound is nice, man, and it's a big fat sound, which I like. The next thing is rhythm, and people feel your rhythm before they know anything about harmony. So it's important you had a nice rhythm going too. But we always want to make sure that our eighth note lines, are really in the pocket, even if we're playing with a play along, that they're locked in with that cymbal beat. The cymbal beat is playing quarter notes along with the bassist, and you want to lock your lines right in there with that, so that when we were talking about Jack McDuff, Jack told me early on, he said, if you look out in the audience and people aren't doing this when you're playing, you're not doing your job. So in other words, that's what we want to get to is when we're listening, you can't help yourself from like grooving with it. Okay, and so the way that we can learn this music, as I spoke about before, is from the records. So the more than anything you could learn in school, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir here a bit and just things that you already know, but the more that you listen to a record and get with a J.J. Johnson record or a Steve Davis record, whoever you like, and cop it, take his solo on Steve Davis's solo on Satin Doll, find him playing that, or whatever tune you like, a blues, and learn his language. That's how I learned how to play. In Omaha, I just listened to records. I was listening to Wes, Smoking at the Half Note, No Blues, the first song on that record. I would listen to Wes's solo, and I would play the melody. So I learned that when I was, 17. I can still remember it because I listened to it a bazillion times. I'd get up in the morning, I'd put that record on, I'd eat my Cheerios, and when that solo ended, I didn't listen to Wynton's solo. I went back, put it back on, so that I could sing along with it. Once you could sing along with it, then you put it on your horn, your guitar, whatever your instrument is. So that's, I really want to stress how important that is. Now, when I listened to guys like Grant Green and Wes, I heard them playing a certain language, jazz language. And that's one thing I think, Tommy, you could stand to have a little bit more jazz language. You got a good ear and you're playing nice things, but you want to have some lines, we call them. So if we're playing a tune like Satin Doll, okay, so we look at the chords and we see it's a D minor. So the first thing we could do is just think about arpeggios, all right? And arpeggios are chord tones. So you could think of, on a D minor, you could go root, minor third, 5, 7, 9, 11. So I heard Wes Montgomery play things like that. Maybe a triplet in there. Get that under my fingers really well. Just right up the arpeggio. So for guitar players, I'm using my little finger and I'm starting in second position and I'm going. Second positions means second finger on the first finger on the second fret. So you want to be down here. All right, Wolfgang, I see you over there. Second position, that means your first finger's on the second fret. So there you go. Now, little finger's on the root. So play a D minor arpeggio. Okay, good. So the reason I like that is that it lays nicely on the guitar. There's many fingerings on guitar, but I'm just getting, that's one place to start. On trombone, so you could play something like that. Want to try that? Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, so you're just going up the D minor. So.
Up, go right up. Right, when you go back down, do this though. Yeah, so that way you're not
going down to the 9.
Exact same thing going up is down. Just play the. Okay, listen exactly what I do. 3, 4. Perfect. Now we're going to take that same idea, and the next chord's up a whole step, D minor. Try that.
You're still using that minor language. So.
The same thing. Use it's
Oh, okay.
Good. All right. So this is stuff that you can work out practicing. Now, well, here's where it gets interesting: is on a D9 chord, instead of playing, you're playing this chord. That's just a D9. So instead of playing a D arpeggio, instead of playing that, what we can do is what I call the minor sub idea, and that's where if you take a D7 scale or a Mixolydian mode, however you want to talk about it, dominant scale, which is a major scale with a flat 7, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you take that and you start on the 5th degree, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, and you play that scale starting from A, you get an A minor Dorian sound, and Dorian minor is what we play mostly in jazz language. So instead of when I get to a dominant chord, I'm going to play A minor on that instead. So I'm going to play. So right away you got some pretty notes, but you're also sounding like you're playing jazz. So right there I played an A minor arpeggio. Try that.
That was a little high.
Okay, that's cool. You know it. You just got to practice it, and you'll get it.
Yeah.
And then down a half step.
And then
Right.
so the same thing, B minor
A flat minor.
or A flat minor, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. So there you. Now you got something to practice. So when you get to a dominant chord, you go up a fifth and play the minor arpeggio. It would sound like this. Okay, so right there, I just played all arpeggio ideas. Now you could go down from the ninth, and these are things that you can practice any instrument you're on. And this gives, now you're starting to sound like you're playing jazz. You know, you're playing some jazz language, which added to what you're already doing, which is using your great ear, is going to really, make Tommy, it's just going to add to your thing. You're going to, it'll make your thing stronger. Now we get to the bridge, and we have a 2-5-1 4-bar, 2-5-1 in the key of F. So by a 4-bar, we mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. That's a 4-bar 2-5-1.
Mm-hmm.
We also have 2-bar 2-5-1s. That would be 1, 2. So that's a 2-bar 2-5-1. But this one has a nice long 4-bar 2-5-1, and that means we need to have some language for a 2-5-1 idea. And a simple one we could do is so what I did is I went up the G minor scale. I could do something even simpler. Okay, try that one. Just go up the G minor. And then it goes up to A minor. Right? So now that you know that, you could also try a line like this. Then you got D minor, descending arpeggio, E minor arpeggio, then you're back at the top. Okay, so let's look at that 2-5-1 again in F, the beginning of the bridge. So just go right up a G minor scale. Then go. Good, I'll play it slow once. 2, 3, 4.
And you started on the 7th.
I just slid into it. Very good. All right, so that would sound, I'll play the whole thing now. landed on the third right there. Here comes the line I showed you. Same thing up a whole step. Okay, so that's I just took the tune apart. I played arpeggio ideas on the A sections. And these are things I learned. I heard Wes do. You know, those kind of killer. It's like, you know, and you could play that over a G7. Because we talked about on a dominant chord, you go up a fifth, and the chord's D minor to G. Now, when we got to the bridge, we learned some language. You know, I showed you that line, and this will be taped, so you can go back if you want to remember it. But it was, and also when you're phrasing, don't overswing your feel. If you listen to all the greats, mainly they play straight with a heavier accent on 1 and 3. So it would sound, instead of sounding like this, you don't want to do that. I'm exaggerating, right? You want to just play. Now I'll accent 1 and 3 even more and it goes. See what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And then a little more subtle, it gives you this sound. That's a good way to get started into a tune, just like putting it together like that, and that's a great tune to do this on, Satin Doll. A lot of these tunes that some people think are corny, cliche, whatever you want to say, they're actually great tunes. And the cool thing is about these kind of tunes is if you go play a gig you're playing in a bar or a party or whatever you're doing, and you play these tunes, people recognize them, and when people recognize a song, you're communicating with the audience, and they might come up and say, hey man, I really, you know, like, so if you play like Satin Doll or you play Girl from Ipanema or Misty, I guarantee you somebody's going to come up and say, man, I really enjoyed that version of Girl from Ipanema you did, because they want to feel like a part of it, man. And they do. And you know, and so if you do a few of those, then you can throw in, you know, I really like that version of Dolphin Dance. What was that third change you used in the third bar? No, they don't do that usually. But
Sorry.
but you know, these songs are great. I mean, Girl from Ipanema, man, a lot of amazing chords in that song. The bridge, I've heard some of the best players you've ever heard of screw the bridge up on that one. So anyway, yeah, nice job, Tommy. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say some serious. Well, several things, Tommy. I know you got to go, but I just, you know, the idea about it's hard to play what you've never heard before, and when Dave's talking about playing with records, the language is there on the records, and when you hear it, it becomes a part of you. And then everything Zvonimir says or Professor Baker says, there's a context to like deal with that knowledge, rather than somebody talking about theory and then you're trying to play, and then it becomes an exercise in trying to verbally explain, and that loses its value really quickly, at least in my opinion, as a someone who's still trying to learn the music and then trying to figure out good ways of teaching it. So I just thought I would add that.
Yeah, but that's boy, I tell you, as good as you're playing right now, you're ready to get with a couple good trombone solos and take them apart. And I think everybody. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a record that was one of the when I went to a Jamie Aebersold camp when I was. That's actually where I met Zvonimir. We both teach at the Jamie Aebersold camp now, and I went from being a student there when I was 17 years old in Wichita, Kansas, where the second year I went, my combo teacher was Joe Henderson. Yes,
Oh.
that was quite a. If we could do a whole TED talk on that. although some of it's X-rated, but anyway, the just for the language, but the I went to Aebersold camp and they used to sell LPs there, and it was great. Jerry Hahn was my guitar teacher, I think, the first year. Jack Peterson also was a guitar teacher there. And it's great that we've come full circle, and now, I'm very happy. I played for many years, and that was mainly all I did. Played, recorded, wrote music, and toured with some of the greats like Jack McDuff and Stanley Turrentine and others. But then because of the Aebersold connection, I started teaching at these workshops in the summer, and then I ended up writing a book, and from some of the people I met at the Aebersold, I got the job teaching at Indiana University, where I still am at. And I commute out there from New York every other week. And in fact, Zvonimir subbed for me for a semester there when I missed a stair going down my stairs. And we won't talk about that, but from now on, I always hold on to the railing. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, I went from being a student at Aebersold, and he kind of followed my career all the way up. When I would come on tour with my band and stuff, we would stop. He would get us a gig in Louisville, and anyway, I ended up getting I also had met David Baker, the great David Baker, who's one of the pillars of jazz education, at that very first workshop I was at Aebersold's. And he was also another guy that stayed in my corner all this time. And so when I got the job at Indiana University, I flew out there, and I'm thinking, I don't want to go all the way out here to teach, do I? And I said, I'll just check it out. But I went in his office, and his wife told me recently, because my new record is called Baker's Circle, and it's dedicated to David Baker. But his wife told me that the dean at Indiana asked him for 3 names of guitar players to teach there, and David said Dave Stryker, Dave Stryker, and Dave Stryker. So that made me feel pretty good.
She told me the same story.
Did she?
Yes. Beautiful.
That really made me feel great, man. And anyway. But that's how he was, and I think, too, Zvonimir, remember when we would play the concerts at night at Aebersold, he would always be out there. Him and Lyda would always be out listening to everybody and checking them out. He was a very supportive person.
Well, you were fortunate enough to know him. I had met him, but didn't really get to know him.
Yeah, he might have been really getting up there in age by the time you came.
Yes.
He was a great guy and funny guy, and that's how this music, there's so many ways of teaching this music, and they're all valid, and you do need to know your scales, and you need to know your harmony and your chords, but don't forget about listening, because the guys that we all like to listen to learn from Wes Montgomery, learned from Charlie Christian, right? And George Benson and Grant Green learned from Wes, and we all learned from them, and now you guys are learning from me a little bit, so it just continues. But it's a listening. It's an oral tradition, and so make sure that that's part of your if you really love this music, it's you'll want to listen to it. And with we have so much at our fingertips now. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, you can go on YouTube and find anything. It's just amazing, and it's good, but it's also can be bad because it's a little overwhelming. So what I said is, make yourself slow down and pick a few things to listen to instead of being overwhelmed with everything from Radiohead to whatever. Just pick a person that you want to sound like, that you wish, and just get with the record, and I feel that that's a very valid way of learning this music. And then you come up with some of those things that I was talking about. You start to hear Grant Green. I heard Grant Green play like on a. I was like, what is that? He's playing a C, so he's playing a C minor arpeggio. But he's on an F7 chord. So he's not thinking. He's thinking. He's thinking off of that minor. So that these are things that I don't think they were thinking about it. They just, and Lee Morgan, same thing. You hear Lee Morgan, Hank Mobley, all of them play these kind of ideas, and that's how I learned it from the records. So Tommy, you sounded great, man. Keep it going.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
How about a hand for Tommy? All right, baby. Nice to hear you play again. I think if we're lucky, we'll be on campus for rehearsal next Monday for the first time in months.
Great.
Good luck on your job interview, and we'll see you very soon. Alexis Medina. Let's see where. Alexis meet Dave. Dave meet Alexis.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great.
What you gonna play for us?
I'm gonna be playing Cherokee for you.
Okay, I'm gonna let you have at it. I gotta make a pit stop, but I'll be back in just a minute, and looking forward to it.
Just making sure you could hear that, right? That's going
Yes.
well.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right.
Hey, Alex.
Hello.
Isn't your guitar turned the wrong way around?
Oh no, I'm lefty.
I'm kidding.
I think you should turn it around.
Yeah, I won't be able to play like that.
Let's all do that.
All right, let's give it a shot.
That would make for some interesting music, wouldn't it? Yeah, nice, Alex. All right. Alex, do you study with Zvonimir?
Yes, yes I do.
Yeah, I can tell. So you picked a difficult tune.
Yeah.
Right? There's certain tunes that we have in jazz that are workhorses that you have to deal with, and because at a jam session, somebody's always going to call Cherokee, somebody's always going to call rhythm changes, blues. These are things that we all have to deal with, and so a tune like Cherokee has quite a bit of chord changes, but I heard a lot of nice stuff in your solo, and I really like the chord melody thing you did on it. It was really pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah. Certain places, you got the right idea for sure. You got the, you're going for it. You got the nice rhythm and stuff, but there's a lot of places where you're not completely dealing with the harmony of the song. You're using your ear, and that's working for you. But just like I mentioned to Tommy, you have to have things worked out on a tune like this. And same thing I would do with that. I would do is with Satin Doll. I would do with this one. I would say. So if we just do that much, and if I just played chord tones right off that chord, right, and then I see right away I got a 2-5 in E flat, and that's a 2-bar 2-5 one. So I might do something like, and then another 2-5 in E flat. Then I see I have a C7, and I might play an idea like, I might play a G minor on that, or I might play a G melodic minor, because I could use the dominant flat 7, When you get to that C7, I might play. Then I have a C minor. E flat minor. There's that C7 again, playing a. Play that. C on the C. Try playing this.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
So you play a C13, and then play right up from your little finger. Play.
I got that. Right.
Like F sharp.
Okay.
Or you can hit a G too there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just a line you can play there, and then you got a 2/5 into to finish up. Do you know that one?
How does that?
Try that.
I wonder.
C up the C minor scale. It's a C minor F B flat. Go to E flat there. Go to E flat. Just go up the scale. Like
E
this.
flat, right?
Play that. Good. Now go. Good. So let me try playing over this. So I'll play. Anyway, I tried to play simple the first chorus just to kind of, I didn't play like double time. I just played. right there. See, when I'm playing that same line I showed you?
Yeah.
It's like the kind of, you know, just a stock kind of bebop line. Then here's that. That's where I was playing that G melodic minor over that C7 flat 5 chord, or I played. And then you got, here we have the bridge, we have 4-bar 2-5-1 ideas. So you could do, I heard you doing that. That Charlie Parker thing, that's cool, you know. Definitely keep that in there. You know, you could do you could do a So that's that line I showed you, right? So that's variation. Do it again, then do the first one again. And then G minor. So basically I played that whole bridge using kind of 2 ideas. The first one, and you notice when I'm playing, I don't always pick every note. I go, that's a pull off there, instead of, that sounds kind of like when you do too much picking like that, it sounds like a saxophone is tonguing every note. You would never hear that, you know, so you got to figure out a way on guitar to make it smoother. So here's a good bridge to work out. You can figure it out later. The first one is, then do the first one again. So then here we get out of it. There's that line. Then right here you have a turnaround. Every jazz tune, blues tune has a turnaround, so you need to know these kind of lines. So try that one. That's in 7th position. I'm playing an F on the G string. My little finger. Good. Then slide down with your first finger. On the D string. D sharp or G. Good.
Oh, play that one more time. Sorry. Oh, I can get it.
Same thing on the next string. So that's like this turn.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So you could use that like bridge I showed you? Here we go. Okay, so there's your little... So on a major chord, sometimes I'll go up to the fifth and play this, which is kind of the same idea as a B flat. If you start on the fifth, it becomes a dominant scale. Starting from the fifth. So then you hear Charlie Parker do those kind of lines. You know, so it's all built off the fifth of a major chord. So you could go. You could do something like that at the beginning. So there's some ideas on Cherokee. You know, it's obviously a little more advanced type tune, but you certainly are ready for that. And you know, keep doing what Zvonimir's telling you to do, because you're obviously on the right path.
Ooh, thank you.
You know, and I hope that it wasn't moving too fast, but you know, that's kind of how I look at tunes. I just take them apart like that, you know. Because I don't want to be like faking myself, faking my way through anything, you know. I mean, sure, you heard me do stuff like, you know, I started doing something like that. That's fine, you know. But I also want to be able to really make the changes, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
And those things are beautiful. Like I'm for sure gonna study those.
I'll make sure you get that portion of the sound so that you can steal that bridge. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm not opposed to stealing anybody's stuff. Dave, I wanted to ask you a question. When you played a chorus or a portion of the chorus, I don't remember now, with slower moving lines.
Yes.
Is that did learning how to do that allow you to play language more effectively? Was that part of your learning process?
Well, that's actually a very good point and question, because when you're playing a fast tempo, a lot of times, especially comping or even lines, when there's more activity going on, you can play less. So when I play like a tune like Impressions or something, or even Cherokee, you know, if I just start out like blowing a whole bunch of eighth notes over that from the beginning of my chorus, how am I going to build into anything? So that's why it's good to take your time on the first chorus and just like, you know, instead of just like, you know, right away going right into, I find that's it definitely helps me. You know, play less, and when you're comping, if the bass is going boom 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 and the drums are playing like, you know, you can just play. more gigs and more people want to play with you if you play less busy comping and you just if you know if you're nobody wants to play. Can't play on that. If you think about when you're thinking about comping, if you think that the greatest sound is silence, and in other words, if you think of a record like Sonny Rollins Live at the Village Vanguard with Elvin Jones and Wilbur Ware, there's no chords on it. If you think of that as like that is the greatest sound, what can I add to that? You know what I mean? In other words, you don't have to comp. It's such a easy concept, but it's so it just lets it breathe if your comping is less busy.
Mhm.
And I think people like the way I comp, and that's how I've been able to get certain opportunities, because you might be a killing solos, but if you don't have that group mentality of making the band sound good and being part of the team and playing simple when you're comping, so that the soloist can go where he or she wants to. Even if you're a great soloist, they might not want to play with you that much. And I just thought of another thing. One of the things that Joe Henderson told my 17 or 18-year-old thing one time, he said to me, I was asking him about comping, and he said to me, "Stryker, on a clear day you can see forever." That stuck with me. You know what he meant, right?
Yeah, I do so.
So how many records did Joe Henn make at the end of his career? Just Ron Carter and Al Foster, no chords.
Yeah.
I saw him with George Mraz and Al Foster, Dave Holland. So it's if it's a fast tempo, play less in the comping. And listen, that's can't emphasize enough. Listen to the person who's soloing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alexis. And I'm glad you're feeling a little better than you were this morning. I think this would be a good point. JJ, if you could make Dave the host of the meeting so that he can share his screen. And do you want to tell us about your trio and about this, what you're going to play for everybody?
Dave is now the host.
All right. Thank you, JJ.
Does that mean I have to serve like crackers and cheese and stuff, or no? Since I'm the host?
Yes.
Sorry, I think these are now called dad jokes, but
Well, either way, man.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's if we have time, maybe I'll play a little bit. Let's go back to my first big gig with Stanley Turrentine. I could play me with Stanley playing at the Village Gate.
Yes.
All right, I'll pull that up.
Guys, you got to look up Stanley Turrentine because
he was one of the greats of the saxophone and a very soulful player.
And if you could have your mic off while
Yeah, everybody mute. Yeah, that'd be great. So I'll just play part of this. So let's see.
Dave, who's in the band?
So this at this point, the band was Bob Fox on piano, Scott Ambush on bass, and Scott Peaker on drums, and they were Baltimore area people. And Stanley actually was living down in that area, Baltimore and D.C. area. And Bob, yeah, so that was that band, and you know, I was cringe a little bit when I listened back to it, but you know, it was a great gig to have. I was with Stanley for almost 10 years, traveling all over the country and all over the world, and it was a really great experience, man, to get to play with somebody of that stature night after night, and to have to follow his solos. You know, when somebody plays like you heard him play with so much feeling and his rock solid time, and just like, you know, from the soul and the heart, man, you know, you have to step your game up and be able to not follow that with some sad, you know what, you got to be on. So that was a learning experience, you know, just to rise to that level, you know, and to, go for it. So that was a great experience. So I think I'll go now to I want to talk about the I'll go chronologically, I guess. So I would say the next thing I'm going to play is a record that I put out last year. I had the opportunity to go over to Cologne, Germany for a week and be a guest with the WDR Big Band. And in Europe and in Germany, they have big bands that are state-sponsored. So they are on salary, this group, and it's some of the best musicians anywhere. And different people will come in, and they will be guests, and then they record it, and they play it over the air. Like, it would be like playing it, for instance, for public broadcasting. Lane Hancock is in the waiting room. I'm assuming that it's okay to let it Lane in. So yes, and so the people in Germany pay a little part of their tax every year goes to this. Somebody told me once it was like $8 a year or something, but it allows, they not only have a jazz big band, they have 2 symphony orchestras, and they believe in the arts, and they put money behind it, and it's kind of amazing. So the saxophonist Bob Mintzer, one of the great saxophonists, has been a friend of mine for many years, and he had played some tours with my group, and then I was doing a project that I call the 8-track project, which is where I took tunes from the 70s and arranged them, for jazz, so that we could play our way over them. And it was very successful. I had I've had several #1 records in the country, and people seem to respond to a tune if they recognize it. So maybe a lot of jazz fans, that don't know Cherokee, or non-jazz fans that don't know a tune like Cherokee, for instance, they hear a tune by Papa Was a Rolling Stone or something, or Pusher Man, Superfly, that I've jazzed up, and they dig it. And so Bob had heard me doing that idea, and he thought that would be a great thing for the WDR big band to explore that. So Bob arranged, we did about maybe 3 or 4 of those kind of 8-track tunes, and then a bunch of my originals, and he arranged all this music, and I went over there for a week, and we put the music in front of the orchestra, and they just read it straight down. And this is one of the first rehearsals. This is a tune by Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, that I arranged for the 8-track thing, and then Bob took it and kind of made it amazing. I got it here. So this was recorded, this came out last year, so it was recorded in 2019. And this is literally, the second day of reading through this chart, and just,
I'm sorry, Dave, just before you play it,
Yes, sir.
I apologize for interrupting. Everybody, look at the chat. I put you a link there from Dave's website. This is where you can buy all of his CDs.
Thanks, Vonimir. Appreciate it. Also, you can today's Bandcamp Friday, which means you can the artist gets all the money from sales. If you just want to download it and you want to actually support the artist and not just get it on Spotify or whatever, it would always be appreciated. And that way, you just go to davestryker.bandcamp.com, and all my stuff's on there for download.
Don't do anything on Spotify. Those people are crooks. And I'll shut up momentarily. Get the actual CDs. I know your generation doesn't really do that, but the CDs are not quite dead yet. And you get uncompressed sound, unlike MP3s and all of that stuff. Anyway, there is the link for Dave's CDs. Thank you.
There's definitely pennies to be made in Spotify.
Beautiful.
Smoking.
Thanks so much. That was just that was a real dream come true, man, to do that. And I forgot to mention that's actually a recording studio as well. So everything that you're playing, every rehearsal, every note is recorded. And then they brought in the cameras just for like one day for a couple things. And but they happened to catch like that song, and that was the one that made it onto the record. So that's my arrangement of what's going on by what's going on. Help me out, Michael.
Marvin Gaye?
Thank you, Marvin Gaye. And but like I said, Bob took my arrangement and did that to it. And Bob is a genius. I mean, he wrote all those big band arrangements on the plane flying to Japan or wherever he was going with the Yellow Jackets with no keyboard.
How? Jeez.
He writes.
Wow.
He can write. He said, yeah. Well, I was talking to him. He said, yeah, I'm going. I'll probably finish what's going on the way over, and then coming back, I'm going to finish da da da. Yeah. Well, some of us are, you know, mere mortals, and other of us are like Bob Mintzer. So he's something else. There's another. If we have time, I'll play another one where he blows tenor sax too. He's one of the greats. In this last year, I had while we were all kind of on lockdown, I was offered a chance to perform at Miami-Dade College, and everybody was doing these live streams, and they wanted me to fly down there and record there, and I was, it was kind of, nobody's really been flying, and I just said, I'd rather, could I just record my group here, and I'll send you the video of it, and they agreed to that, which was nice of them. And so I said, well, heck, if I'm going to go do this, I went into the recording studio where I usually record, and basically I recorded us making a record, but the idea with the record was it was with my trio with Jared Gold on Hammond B3 organ and McClenty Hunter on drums, and we've been playing together for about 10 years now, and this is my working group. And I said, we're going to only do one take of each song. So I wrote like 8 new songs, knowing that I was going to go in the studio. And we had one rehearsal, and then we went in and recorded, because with jazz, a lot of times, what you get on the first take is that kind of freshness that's hard to get as subsequent takes go by. At least that's how it works for me. So I'd like to I'll play you one thing. This is a tune of mine, and it's called Prime, and it goes like this. 1, 2. Notice he's playing the bass line with his left hand and his left foot.
Mercy. You're muted, Dave, I think.
I said that's just a nice little mellow ballad.
Touching.
How are we doing for time, Michael? Do we have time for one more?
We have really, the class is technically done at 1:50. Maybe we could see if anybody has a question or something.
Sure.
Before we click off.
All right, good.
Anybody out there have something they would like to ask Dave Stryker? Please unmute yourself and ask away. And we'll keep the meeting open until about 5 minutes before 2. Anybody? Now's your chance.
Yeah,
Gabe Potts?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, okay.
How do you go about sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it well. What do you find most comfortable when you're playing with a piano player? So guitar and piano, how do you go about comping in a lot of those spaces when maybe the piano player is playing a lot of long held out chords versus maybe a lot more short rhythmic stuff?
That's a good question. So working with piano players in a group is number one thing we have to do is listen. A lot of times, if I'm in a group situation, maybe a quintet with two horns, or maybe a sextet, like two horns, guitar, piano, bass, drums. A lot of times, I'll treat I look at myself as like another horn player. I kind of give it up to the piano player, and that's just how I think about it. And then there's many other things you can do. If the tempo is a medium kind of swing thing, like a Satin Doll or something, then that Freddie Green, playing the Freddie Green style, that can work with piano because you have a roll, and your roll is, the piano player knows what you're doing, and you're going to stay in that consistent thing. And so the piano player is not going to go, he's going to go, or she's going to go. Right? So that works. But, of course, you can't do that all the time. And you also, when you play Freddie Green style, you have to make sure that you play very softly, because Freddie Green didn't use an amp, and he just had an acoustic guitar with very high strings. So, you have to. That's the best way to groove to get a good sound, is to turn very. So I tell my students, turn your guitar all the way off here, and then when you just go, bring it up till you can barely hear it, and then that's about the volume, and then you can bear down with your right hand. So that's one thing. Bossa novas work very well because you have the guitar player has a prescribed clave type rhythm that is playing. Say we're playing like a blue bossa or something like that. I'm going to just play that for 10 minutes, that same groove. And the piano player now knows that, and the piano player can go, the piano player's not going to go blank, blank. He's not going to copy what I'm doing. They're going to go, whatever. But you're playing, so Latin works, fast sambas can work because you can play like, these kind of things, almost like funk. Those kind of things can work. What gets into trouble, can get messy is when you're playing straight ahead tunes, like for instance, Cherokee or something. Like if you're playing. What I've found that works a lot is using the Charleston rhythm. Like if you're playing a blues in B flat, for instance, you could just be playing. If you just lock in and play a consistent thing like this. Let's see. Let me try.
Hey, excuse me, Dave Stryker. Would you mind making Michael Stryker the host now? I'm no longer in control of anything.
We'll do it before we click off. Thanks, JJ.
Is that something that I can do on my end? I don't even know.
Yeah, I'll show you how, but let's keep going and answer the question,
right,
and then we'll fix it.
If we're playing a tune like a blues.
Yeah.
So I might play this. We call that just a Charleston rhythm. This is a dance that Michael used to do. Just kidding. His grandparents used to do.
You're not wrong.
But I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm grooving because if I had a drummer I'm just grooving with the bass and the drums.
Yeah.
And this will work with piano. Believe me, because I did it night after night with Turrentine. And I have no problem with just. Because it grooves, and like Jack McDuff said, it makes your head want to bob a little bit. Now, if Michael was playing with me, he could do that if he wanted, or he might do something different. He might do. But I'm going like this. I'm not changing. And so it can work because I'm playing a consistent rhythm. But if we both are trying to play creatively and like it gets just one thing. Stanley didn't say a lot to me when we were in the band, but he just figured it was kind of like once you got the gig, he figured you deserved the gig, you got the gig, so he didn't have to say anything. But one time we were doing a record date, and Kenny Drew Jr. was the piano player, and we were playing a song, and we were listening to the playback, and it was a tune, it was a fast tune, I think, or something, and Kenny and I were both playing, and you could just tell it was too busy. You could hear the way Stanley played, and Stanley, all he said was, "You guys decide."
And
In other words,
figured out.
yeah.
Do you think
On a clear day, you can see forever.
you think it's really beneficial, especially at first, to just kind of lock down on, it could be like a Charleston or like a really easy to hear rhythm, just to get like locked in and stuff. And obviously, like if you're a piano player and a guitar player playing together, you don't like always have to be playing the same thing throughout the whole tune, but it's good
Right,
to get a really sturdy
you
foundation,
can
in my opinion.
one or the other can lay out, or
Right.
both of you can lay out, or you can take turns. Say there's 3 or 4 soloists. It sounds cool to have the piano drop out and the guitar be the comper for a couple solos.
Sure.
That would work. And then there's also things you can do where you work out parts that we would do on certain tunes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it mainly boils down to listening. But that's a very good question. In fact, I've done clinics on just that very subject of different strategies you can use.
And all of this assumes that the piano player is open to exchanging, comping, and whatnot with the guitars, because there are many piano players out there who think of guitar either as another horn or a nuisance.
Or both. Not, I don't think that. It's sorry, go ahead, please.
No, that's true. Of course, we hope that everybody's is there for the service of the music and for making the best music possible. And luckily, I guess I've been lucky in the times that I have played with piano. They were those type of piano players. But I know exactly. You have to be giving in this music. You have to want to be there for the greater good of the music. I see Isabella has a question here. When it comes to improvising, how do you confidently go about being in rhythm and making an impression? That's a great question. I guess you have to believe in yourself. You have to have done the homework, and you have to have listened to the music to learn some of the language, and then be willing to take chances, but thinking, to be in rhythm, to listen to what the drums and the bass are playing, and that, because they're supplying, that drummer's supplying the rhythm, and just locking in with them and leaving spaces. On that last tune, it was very fast, and it was right, on the edge of for me at least, sweating. So, but the thing is you can play a phrase and stop and leave a big hole, and the drums can fill that in. And when the drummer feels that you're listening to them and is giving them that chance to have a conversation, the music can go to another level. So there's so many things. It's just, but it really boils down to listening and working hard at your craft, so that you are able, when you get in the situation, that you're playing and improvising, that you build up that confidence because you have your facility on your instrument and your strategies about how to play through certain chords and things like that, and you allow that amazing thing that we love about jazz so much, is that it's this improvisation part of it that is just so incredible that, if you think about it, there's nothing like it. We work on the language and these things, but when it comes time to play, we're kind of like there in the moment, and Sometimes it's going to be amazing. Other times it's going to be okay. You know, but hopefully as we get better, it's as okay as bad as it gets. But anyway, the more that you have good rhythm and are listening and playing with the people you're playing with, then you'll make an impression on people because they'll feel that.
That's a great question, Isabella. If for those that are remaining in the room, we've just got time for maybe one more question before I walk Dave through making me a host, so the recording will come to me rather than him, and there aren't some extra steps. Any more questions? Or a question about guitar playing, about Dave's career, about jazz improvising, about comping, about good Thai restaurants in West Orange, New Jersey? I don't know. What do you guys think? We got a couple more minutes with Dave.
I used
Well,
to
if
play.
nobody's going to go. Let me just use this opportunity to thank Dave for a beautiful masterclass. This is wonderful information and as useful for me as I'm sure it was for the students. Thank you, Dave.
Zvonimir, it's great to see you, my friend, and I can't wait till we see each other in person and get to play again.
Yes.
Amen. Then thanks for everybody for coming. Great to see you, Jaime. And Jesse, have a great rest of your weekend with your dad. And I hope you come to UIC. I'm glad you tuned in. We can talk more over the weekend or early next week. If everybody would just go ahead and click out, and hope you enjoyed yourself. And next week on April 9th are the last of 4 Masterclass artists will join us during this time, and it will be Kurt Elling. Great to see everybody, and hope you have a lovely weekend. Bye now.
Have a good one.
Thank Mr. Stryker.
Stryker.